Welcome to the Spark of Ages podcast. Today we're hanging out with my co-host and brother, Sandeep Parikh. And I get to talk about him because he has so much to share. Sandeep is a true renaissance man of the digital age. They in LA or in Hollywood call it a multi-hyphenate, who's blazed his own trail as a director, actor, and digital showrunner in comedy, gaming, and interactive entertainment. Sandeep's worked with a lot of names you know: Comedy Central, Sony, FX, Nickelodeon, TBS, Hasbro. You may recognize him from his breakout role as Zabu in The Guild, as I have. I've walked down the road with him and people recognize him, which started as an internet series and ended up being bought by Geek and Sundry and ran for 6 seasons. Right now, he's starring in DesiQuest, a Dungeons and Dragons series making waves in the TTRPG world, which is tabletop role-playing game world. That's about to hit Hasbro's official D&D channel this spring. And recently, he just teamed up with Rekha Shankar to raise crowdsourced capital via Kickstarter for his next movie, Vidhya's Guide for the Afterlife. Behind the camera, Sandeep has directed numerous web series of his own called Legend of Neil, which is based on the video game Zelda, wrote for the animated Netflix series Glitch Tech, and has directed commercials for brands like Walmart and countless Silicon Valley startups. Besides being the co-host of this podcast, Sandeep is also the co-host of Your Mom is a Podcast with Milana Weintraub, who's also been on the show, as well as the show ABCD, American-born Chatty Desi's podcast. So go check out those after you listen to this show. So Sandeep attended Brown University, where he has a degree in computer science and theater. So Sandeep, welcome back to the show, because I know you've been away for some time. We've really missed you.
Return.
We, as in me and your producer Anand, have really missed you, as well as the audience. A lot of times they're like, where's that guy who makes all this stuff real? And where's that guy that sounds a lot like you?
Yeah, your voice double, apparently.
Apparently, we're that close.
Sometimes our parents can't tell us apart.
Can they? I mean, they always say.
Sometimes they're like, I'm on the phone with them for like 10 minutes, and they'll be like, well, Rajiv. And I'm like, you've been talking to not Rajiv for a while, right? And they're like, huh?
Yep. Oh, who's that? Why are you talking to me about something completely different?
Yeah.
It's just that Rajiv is so multi-textured. And of course, I get called Sanjeev. I get called my son's name, Arjun. So I get called all kinds of things from our parents. It's this affection that they have for everybody. So one of the things I think that's going to be interesting to talk about today is that the reason why you've been away for quite some time.
Yeah.
You've gone through this incredible, difficult, for many and most heartbreaking experience, and maybe a point of resilience experience called the LA fires. So you are, I guess, would I call you a climate resilience survivor?
I suppose so. That sounds very fancy for how I feel, but you said a lot of fancy things in the bio, so I guess I'll chalk that up as well. It's been it's been the hardest experience of my adult life, I'd say, the most challenging experience since becoming a father, and as sort of a co-leader of our family. So we were displaced from the LA wildfires. We lived in Altadena, and we're over 9,000 structures were, there's no better word than decimated, and has laid waste to was once a beautiful, gorgeous neighborhood that where we raised our son for all 5 years of his life. And there's no way of sugarcoating it. It was super challenging. Our house still stands. However, it is sort of infiltrated or has been sort of succumbed to massive smoke damage and ash and char and soot. That's that we're finding out more and more in the research, that it's highly toxic, filled with lead and asbestos, cyanide, a whole bunch of other really damaging neurotoxins. So it's unclear as to whether or not our house will be safe to return to anytime soon. every week is a wild challenge that either involves a shouting match with insurance, or discovering some new neurotoxin, or trying to figure out where our kid's going to go to school. And it's been an absolute wild ride, and has certainly tested our resilience as a family. Yeah, tested me in all the ways that I can name, as an artist, as a father, as a husband, so it's been super, super challenging, but I am heartened by the level of outpouring of real support from, of course, family and friends, but even strangers that have sort of stepped up and tried to help in the many ways they can. I'm also a part of, I guess I'll mention this, that I'm working with an advocacy group that I helped name using my creative brain.
Well, you're a creator and you're a leader and an organizer, right? You started your own business. All your life you've been an entrepreneur. And so those skills serve you well when you're in this situation.
There's this element of, I think that, I don't know, it's probably some combination of you and mom and dad and all these influences in my life really sort of, when I feel like I'm faced with a challenge like this, I can't help but somehow find a way to step up. I feel like there's always a vacuum in these times of challenge where people are looking for leadership. They're looking for answers. And so when I feel like I am in the mix of it, and I start finding various answers to things, I feel compelled to want to share those answers. And then before I know it, I'm a part of an organization that is dedicated to that and trying to just utilize all my skills. So the organization is called the Eaton Fire Residents United, EFRU. And you can find it at efru.la. And the sole real mission of that organization is to map. Essentially, we're creating a dynamic map that is taking all of the industrial hygienist testing that's being done on homes that are still standing. And because there are so many people that can't afford that testing, don't have, or insurance is pushing back and not allowing them to. So we're trying to gather all that data. It's all volunteer based. People are just uploading their test results. It's all anonymous, by the way. So, we take privacy super seriously.
Yeah, so you're not saying this home.
Not specifically this home, but the area around the home, so that you can map it and you can literally see, oh, here is how the lead has moved through thanks to the wind patterns based upon certifiable test results, or this is how arsenic. And so we're breaking it down by the toxins as well, so that you can, really see how this stuff has moved through the town and through LA.
I think a lot of folks were forced to move back, right? Or maybe didn't realize this and they just went back. And so after the fall, like you guys, as it was happening, left pretty much right away. It was a scary thing to leave your home right away.
I mean, we were evacuated. I mean, technically we left before we were technically evacuated, because we were in some ways warned, thanks to this local weatherman. And when I say local weatherman, I don't mean like a guy on TV. I mean a guy that has his own Patreon that does hyper local weather for Altadena. It's this, that's cool. This unbelievable guy, Edgar McGregor. And I single-handedly, this guy and his Patreon, I think, saved countless lives, because he warned folks ahead of time that, hey, these winds are going to be unprecedented. And if a fire is to break out, that it will be near impossible for it to be stopped. So get ready to get out. He said that a week or so ahead of time.
Ahead of time.
Yeah, a lot of us were informed of this idea that the Santa Ana winds were going to be huge, and that if any fire breaks out, just get ready to bounce. And that's exactly what we did. We just were like, you know what? We see the fire on the mountain, even though it was miles and miles, at least 10 miles away from us specifically. We were like, let's just get out of here. Let's just get out of these winds. Are absolutely insane. I've never seen anything like them. They're, once in 100 years kind of thing, Santa Ana winds. And so, because of that guy and because of Patreon, we got out of there. It's nuts.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Glad this person can be so helpful, because I could imagine just what happened with people when people didn't leave. They they just ran into a situation where they're all crowded and trying to get out and they don't get to take all the stuff
100%.
or they get trapped.
Well, that was exactly what I was specifically worried about. I was like, you know what? Before we even got our evacuation order, I was like, let's just get out of here just in case it gets crazy clogged. Yeah. Like, why even bother messing with it? Plus we didn't have power at the time. So, we have a 5-year-old and we're having like a candlelit taco dinner. We're like, why don't we just not be here?
Let's do this somewhere else.
Yeah. We didn't know that we were not going to be able to return. Honestly, at that time that we were leaving, it was like we sat in our home. It felt like our home was so far away. There's like, but if it ever got to us, like, are you kidding me? This whole place would have to burn down. And that's literally what transpired. I can't believe it. So still can't believe it.
What are some of the key lessons you learned from going through this that we should all think about in terms of being prepared? It's one thing to say for someone to be prepared. Yeah. We talk about it in Northern California more. It's like, be prepared for the next earthquake. And we sort of have, we have some things tied down. The bigger buildings are forced to renovate themselves or make them seismic ready. Some people have a to-go bag or bag. But I think most don't, other than having maybe earthquake insurance, most people don't do very much. What are some lessons you recommend to all of us? The learnings that you represent to us.
I mean, this is such like a lesson in like, assessing your own level of risk. And we've been through this now twice in some ways, right? With the pandemic and now the LA wildfires. So my personal risk assessment is, and especially now that I have family, I don't want to take any chances. I don't necessarily want to go so far as to like build a bunker 80 feet down underneath my home or anything like that. Or, I think there are measured steps that you can take to prepare yourself that are reasonable. And at the very least, it starts by checking out whatever the public health guidelines are in your region. I mean, I think that is like a no-brainer, and these go bags are pretty cheap, and you can put one in each of your cars and, have one under your bed, and they're like $80 each or something like that. You can get them on Amazon, and they have water for 3 days. They have, basic food, basic supply. Like there's stuff that you can absolutely do. Simple things like, hey, don't throw away your sneakers. Old sneakers, like stick those under your bed. So you have sneakers. If you wake up and there's an earthquake and glass is shattered and there's a bunch of glass shattered between you and your kid's room, well, then you can slip on your shoes and not, and there's
that's a good
sort
call.
of really simple things and there's these websites that have it all. And, now you have AI, so you can just ask the question. You can have a conversation with Gemini or whatever you'd like to use and go like, hey, how should I live around here? How should I prepare for the, events that, by the way, I'm utilizing AI so much to help me in a bunch of different ways. But specifically, I'm using it to go up against when I need to go up against insurance, and having it break down my insurance policy for me. I'll write an angry letter, and then I'll say, hey, make this less angry and make this sound professional, polite, but firm. And it will do it. And it's been so wildly helpful in tracking all that stuff. So, you got to use all the tools that are at your disposal when you're talking about your family's survival. And so
so have a go bag, lesson. Keep sneakers under your bed. Maybe have an old pair of sneakers in your car, have a change of clothes in your car, know how to shut off stuff like gas and water before you go. I think you did some of that, gas, water, electricity. Electricity, you can't, it's hard to do.
Honestly, we did some of that, but the most important thing is to just get the hell out of there. Like that's the thing is that I talked, right afterwards, I was talking to this fire captain who I happened to run into at a friend's house when we were couch surfing. He's this guy who's working. He was off from the wildfires. He was like on a shift off. And I was like going through a list of things that I thought I totally messed up on. Right. I was like, oh man, I didn't shut off the gas. Actually, I didn't. Like there were certain things that we didn't do. And he was like, none of that matters. He's like, you guys got out. He's like, none of that is going to be the reason that your house burns down. Like, I was like, oh man, I left like I had like an extra gas can that I have an extra gallon of gas.
Freaking out about that.
I was freaking out about it. And I was like, man, I tied it down, but I didn't have time to I didn't want to dump it out. I didn't know what to do with it. So I just, I forgot about it, and I was so freaked out. And he was like, none of that is going to be the reason your house burns down. He's like, these are 100 miles an hour winds that are like blow torching homes. He's like, there's nothing you could have done that would have stopped your home from burning. So let go of that guilt or that fear that this was somehow your fault or you could have done something. He's like, you did the most important thing. You and your family got out. Huge.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. So what's the biggest challenges for you from this 100+ year event, Wildfire, as it relates to the business and entertainment industry? So a lot of news happening about production happening overseas. Yet another challenge to Hollywood after the pandemic and the writer's strike and the actor's strike.
Yeah.
I mean, so how do you view this current environment as a result of all this? Or has this been a time where there's a massive creativity, or maybe both?
I think that's to come, probably the massive creativity in some ways, or at least the evidence of that. I'm sure that I think any sort of trauma leads to art in some capacity, because that's the way we process things as human beings. So I'm eager to see. I just watched a movie the other day called 7 Days. That was a beautiful rom-com that was set in the time of COVID. And it was like, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Cool art comes from our group trauma. So I'm sure that's going to be what will be the result of this as well. But yeah, it does feel like in many ways the sky is falling. If you were, like me, set out to LA to become a filmmaker, and you see how the studio system is sort of collapsing, and you just listed off all these major events that have really curbed our ability to at least plug into the existing infrastructure and systems that were in place for us to effectively make a living, have a middle-class lifestyle, and still create art. That's really what I think Hollywood was really able to do, or at least the sort of negotiations that sprung up between, or the sort of ecosystem that sprung up around the studio and the various unions, right? Like we sort of created this little ecosystem that was self-sustaining, where people could have a middle-class lifestyle, and be a working actor, not have to take another job, be available for auditions at any time of the day, and not be working a full-time job. So that all that stuff, we're seeing that infrastructure crumble before our very eyes. And so that's wildly challenging.
So luckily, that's happening. I mean, I think your friend Matt talked about this, right?
Yeah.
That the reason you can have super high quality people be ready at any time is because of the unions. And right, I'm one of these business school sort of folks. I come out of, we don't like anybody in the way of getting things done. We want a free market. But in a way, basically the unions enable a super high quality market for people.
Correct.
Because if you're not available, you're not going to get access to the highest quality people. If those folks have to just jump from big project to big project, they're going to find things more consistent and stable.
And it's also why when you do book a job, you get paid really, really well. And people say, wow, that's your day rate. That's insane. You make like $2,000 a day or whatever. And it's like, yeah, if we were working 50 or 350 days of a year, then I'm sure that would be a crazy rate. But you're not working that amount, so you need to get that stuff. You need to get those residuals. Those are the things that allow you to essentially, in the downtimes, be training for when it's your time when you book a job and you're actually up at bat. But yeah, that kind of infrastructure is sort of falling apart. And then, I think with AI,
is that because of the rise of streaming, or is there something about that that's
part of it
specific to the wildfires? Has the wildfires just challenged that?
No, I think the wildfires is just exacerbated it. Exactly. It's sort of like if there was a scab that was starting to come over because of the strikes and the pandemic and all the other and AI and and all that. Like if there was, hey, a scab is starting to form, this is okay. This just ripped that scab off again and sort of exacerbated the wound. But yeah, that from our perspective, this is what I love about working with Anand Shah, who's also the producer of this podcast and my COO at EffinFunny, my production company, is that we constantly just look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, what can we do, the two of us do, to keep our creativity flowing, to keep us afloat, to keep our income coming in, revenue coming in, hell or high water. We just have that mentality of like, we're going to be those weeds that survive the apocalypse, the ones that we're going to be the
stubborn weed that that comes up through the cracks. We're never going to go away.
Exactly. Our roots are just going to go so deep. We're going to find that just one little, ounce of water that's buried deep to keep us alive and keep us moving and keep us making stuff. And I think the other thing we do to become hardy is have really sincere, authentic relationships with our community and the people that we've worked with for 20 years. And we care about these people, and we try to bring them aboard. If our ship's not totally sunk, then come on aboard and see how you can grab an oar, and we can try to figure out how to, do a cool project with you. Like that's the thing we're doing with Reka.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that. Yeah. I think this is straight out of, you had two really interesting innovations. You've done many of them, right? Yeah, you were in the web world doing productions before it was cool. You were doing interactive, as in choose your own ending or choose your own story world before it became interesting or became cool or big yet. And now you're playing the multi.
I don't think it's even big yet, but
it's not even big yet. It could be. It will be.
I'm ahead of the time. You're ahead of your time.
Yeah.
I'm ahead of the time.
Your time will come on that one. And then you just did a production, right? Your DesiQuest, right? And what was interesting is how you got it funded, and now you're going to do a movie, and how you got it funded, right? Through crowdsourcing. Talk about that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, look, I don't think Hollywood was ever just handing things out to South Asian directors necessarily. Not to play the race card per se, but it is. People tend to hire those or feel connected to stories that reflect their own, right? And so the people that are in power, they're of a certain demographic or of a certain, whatever it is, race, culture, whatever you want to call it, they're just going to inevitably be attracted to projects or creators of a certain ilk. And I think it's subconscious. And I don't think that anybody's overtly trying to, suppress South Asian voices. But my point is that there was no easy paths to it. We didn't, like the Mindy Kalings and the Hassan Minajs of the world came with us. Like we are that generation, essentially. We didn't have the sort of, the grandfathers and grandmothers before us pulling us up necessarily in Hollywood specifically. So we have to carve that out for ourselves. And so all that to say, when you have a project that you're passionate about, or a creator's voice who you want to uplift and put out there, or a story that you're desperate to tell, you just do whatever the hell it takes to make it happen. And part of that for me recently has been recognizing that, hey, in the 20 years I've been out here and doing stuff for the like the Guild you mentioned and the Legend of Neil and things that have a fan base, maybe not like my show was on HBO fan base, but a show that's really touched people's hearts and that they're really rooting for us and they care about us.
People still follow you. They still buy merchandise. They still, when you're at a convention, dress up like you guys do. Dress up as your
for whatever reason.
I mean, there's
whatever reason whatever reason that they really connected, they deeply connected to the stuff that we made. I think they felt represented by it. We were making shows about people who love video games, people who love gaming, quote unquote nerds, people who felt like they were the underdogs, who were only picked on in media, who were only looked down upon in media as the butt of jokes. And we gave them voices from an authentic point of view because we are gamers and we are nerds. And we were like, no, we can be cool. I mean, we literally have a guild song called I'm the One That's Cool. that was like a rock song that we put on YouTube that has some millions of views. And I think that's because we like really touched these people in a way that they felt, hey, I feel like I am beloved in this. And they're speaking for my voice. And what I've recognized now is that, these are fans in the sense, but they're also like, advocates. They're like people who just care so much that they want to see your thing get made, and they really go to bat for you. So it's like, hey, look, why not try to tap into that, really service that, and service that need that they have to be further represented, and see if we can get thousands of people to say yes to our product, or our project, instead of begging for and trying to convince the suit at the top of right, Paramount, so or whatever.
Those are gatekeepers. They have a job. Their job is to enable the millions of dollars that they have at their disposal and the distribution channels that they have to get out to market. And now there's this alternative channel that, before you could do something potentially on YouTube and just put it out, right? And some people have risen spectacularly through that, but you still have to get high quality productions funded somehow. Right. It's hard to go from something kind of chintzy to then getting it funded in a big way. And you've done actually a lot of that too. But then in this case, you utilize crowdsourcing.
Right. So for DesiQuest, which is a Dungeons and Dragons show, which people are like, what's a Dungeons and Dragons show? I mean, that's what they're, maybe not seeing is that these Dungeons and Dragons shows are selling out Madison Square Garden. They're like, these are becoming a really valid form of entertainment, that again, people feel very seen by them. And so we're like, well, we want to do one that's from a South Asian perspective. We have such a rich mythology, our culture is so steeped in incredible stories of, whether it's Hanuman or the Mahabharata or, all these like really incredible ancient stories that I feel like are really underrepresented, at least in the Western world for sure. And so we're like, oh, well, let's do D&D kind of with that influence with a bunch of South Asian, improvisers and performers. And so what better way to see if your idea that you think is cool actually has resonance than to put it out there for a crowdfund to see if anybody's willing to put their money where their mouth is. And we had 2,608 people do that to the tune of $150,000, and was able to fund a season of that. And from there, the show has grown. We did a
how did the show
season?
Do?
We've done lots.
So you raised 100. So crowdfunded. You set out to raise $50,000.
Yeah,
and like within hours, I think
6 hours, we hit our goal. Yeah,
you hit your goal,
cool.
Which hit the algorithm and got you listed on the front page of Kickstarter. That was brilliant.
Yeah, they became a project we love on Kickstarter, which is great.
We love.
You want that badge.
Then it popped. It popped from there and kept going.
Yeah, I think at the time
it basically hit your stretch goal. And I mean, it was
pre-Elon Twitter. And so really it was like the Twitter sphere was abuzz with it. Like all the massive TTRPG players were all retweeting it and supporting it. And from there, I think it just sort of caught steam and caught fire a bit.
And then after that, you had the show, you put it out, you basically pioneered basically the tabletop role player game, right? Did Dungeons and Dragons, which is a very different format than watching a typical show, right?
Yeah.
And built this very loyal audience. And then from that, you were able to turn it into something even bigger.
Yeah, it's kind of like watching an improvised fantasy novel happen before your very eyes, with a group of storytellers who collectively tell a story together. And then there's this gamified element with dice that sort of randomize what's going to happen. It's a really cool format. And yeah, I mean, like, we created the show. I measure the success. My metric for success is the number of characters per comment. So it's not just, hey, do we get millions of views or we get all this stuff? The fact that people wrote like, a 2-page comment of how that show made them feel seen, feel heard. Like, we got a lot of like, this is the show I never knew I needed in my life. And especially from second generation immigrants of all types, not just South Asians. And that to me was, okay, we have struck a nerve. Now the job is to not give up, to keep creating, which is not giving up, but and then just getting more attention for the show.
Well, see, let's stop there for a second, okay? Because when I first saw that first episode, right, of DesiQuest, I didn't know what to do with it, okay? Because I'm used to produced shows, right?
Well, this is a produced show.
It is a produced show, and I'm used to something that, but this was like much longer than a typical show.
Right.
It's a couple hours.
Yep.
Or longer. And I've seen you and many of your friends who've gone on to do incredible things, do improv. Yep. And this was like a form of both together. And I think what was unique about it, you have to really live and feel that story as something much greater, a greater commitment. And as a result, when you get those comments that are 2 pages, you're getting someone who is investing in you in that level of depth. And they're expressing passion for it, which is what you really want in anything you do. You want people who are maniacally passionate.
Yeah, no, I think it's not you're right. I see what you mean by produce now. You mean like, oh, I'm when you watch a show, you're very much, if you're watching Last of Us, you are, watching these characters play out the story in a very visceral way. What you do in tabletop that's very different is that you're sitting around a table, you're sort of orally telling the story together as a group, inhabiting characters, playing, encounters and these things, but you're kind of voicing them almost like in a podcast style. This is why I liken it to a novelization. It's like when you pick up a fantasy book, sometimes you need to get to page 200 before you're like, holy cow, now I'm into this world. And you're right. It does require a little bit of patience, or at least an understanding of what you're sort of getting into. But I also feel like it's probably what people first said when Joe Rogan was like doing a 4-hour podcast, and they were like, why the hell am I going to listen to this jerk talk for 4 hours, whatever. And it's like, it's a different way of connecting, with story. And I think in some ways a deeper, more meaningful way than your traditional traditional fare that you might find on TV
I think it's
film.
Fundamentally
I think
really
that's why it's selling out Madison Square Garden. I think it's why it's selling out Madison Square Garden right now. These guys that on Dimension 20 and Critical Role have such gigantic followings. And it's because they are, again, they're just connecting with people on such a deep level with their storytelling.
And you're finding that same effect for the South Asian version, where you've mixed in mythology, Hindu mythology, I would assume a lot of this is sourced from, that you're blending into this story, right? Into DesiQuest's story. And then from that,
it's not just Hindu, it's Sikh, it's Islamic. It's like all the, it really is. We try to be sort of like non-denominationally South Asian about it, so that it could be, just as inclusive as possible.
You're borrowing stories and elements and create weapons and characters from all these places. And they do feel, actually, if you come at it from afar, pretty related, because all the stories mix and intermingle.
For sure.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So then you take that and you build a relationship with Rekha, right?
That's right.
And then from there, what happened?
Yeah, so Rekha Shankar is, a real up and coming, incredible comedic talent. She was the head writer at College Humor and had done so what I did for DesiQuest was I needed to find I needed to have our own South Asian Avengers. I was like, what's every South Asian that's ever been on one of these sort of hit TTRPG shows, and can I meet them and can I get them all to come together, right? So Rekha was one of them. She was on Dimension 20, which is a big show on a network called Dropout. She said yes, she'd be into it. And from there, she was an absolute superstar on the show. She's one of the funniest people on the show. She plays a character called Laddu Auntie, which is an auntie that is a barbarian. And it makes powerful laddus that do all these magical things. And so she plays a very kind of, I don't want to say stereotypical, but an auntie, yes. Who is,
if you're South Asian, you will know what auntie
you will
means.
know this auntie. This auntie is in your life.
Indian, auntie. What does auntie mean? Auntie, uncle and auntie. And I even say this. I say this to my team sometimes. Stop being an uncle. They're like, okay, Raji, we're stop. I'm not gonna be so preachy and tell you what to do. So kind of one dimensional.
But she plays.
This is an auntie with texture and persona.
It is. She plays. She's a barbarian in all the ways, and those aunties that are yes, they will shame you for eating too much or not eating enough or whatever it is, but then they also will be the ones that will, if anyone talk shit about you, they're the first ones to be they're gonna throw down. You never cross an auntie. Yeah, exactly. Their heart's so for you.
The auntie loves you. It's like your mom. They got that mom gene.
That's right.
They're gonna be like the tigress and just
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They will tear down mountain. They'll do what it takes to make sure you're okay. And so that's who she is anyway. She was so hilarious and all that. And this is the thing that how we approach projects with creators that we're interested in working with. We always ask them, hey, what's that project that no one is greenlighting that you just can't stop thinking about? What's that script that you just can't put away and you keep coming back to, and everybody says you're crazy and that kind of thing. What is that project for you? And for Rekha, it was this movie that she was working on that was had a really cool, fun sci-fi hook. It's essentially it was a movie that she wrote in the wake of her grandfather's passing, and the sort of the challenges that she felt during the 13-day Hindu ceremony for we have this sort of, it's kind of like sitting Shiva type thing, but it's this 13-day ceremony. There's all these rites and rituals and pujas and things that happen. But she had a difficult, as a second generation, she had a difficult time sort of understanding what was going on. Every uncle has a different interpretation of what's happening. Is she grieving the right way? And in that angst, she felt am I a good Hindu? Am I just the worst Hindu in the world? I don't understand. I don't know how to grieve my own grandmother or grandfather in this case.
That is a proper way.
Yeah. And so then she wrote, but the twist, the sci-fi twist of our story is that, in the middle of this, the Hindu rapture occurs and every Hindu on the face of the planet is taken away except for her, thereby proving that she is the world's worst Hindu. And it's what happens now? And I fell in love with the script. I was already sort of in love with Rekha's comedic abilities. And I was how, I just said yes with my full being. How do I help you make this movie in whatever way, shape, and form, And I also knew I really wanted to direct the movie, but really my first place of coming from it was how do I just help you get this into the world? If my directing is what helps that, then let's do it. If not, I'll help in whatever way I can. And then I pitched myself as director eventually, and she was yeah, let's do this. Let's make this thing. And then it became another
thing to put it together. Yeah. You put your community together as part of it. She has her community. You have a community. You have some intertwined members of that. And then with that group, you guys put together another Kickstarter campaign. And I thought this one you raised, you blew out even faster. You hit over $250,000 very quickly, like almost no time, right? Your initial limit was set at 50 and you blew that out. But there was a way in which you launched the campaign that got you more visibility. Of course, as you know, I'm into go-to-market. So there's ways in which you launched it that drove it even faster. So maybe you could share some of those tips with us.
So what we did for this one that was very different than DesiQuest is that we decided to have like a launch show. You know, a lot of us are performers. We obviously have relationships with really great performers. And we thought, hey, let's see if we can call in that one favor, get a kind of best of the best together. And let's do a show that effectively, it's a show format that pitches the movie to the audience. So it is an improv show that is about Rekha telling the world, this is the movie I want to make. And this is why I want to make it. And that's sort of the like through line of the actual show. But then we like gamify various elements of that in improv games throughout the show. And we brought together a cast that if you're in like our circles, or if you're in the world of TTRPG or in the world of improv comedy, you would be like, this is a super group. We essentially put together like,
oh, it was amazing. I
like the Temple of the Dog for.
No, I kind of fell into it. I fell into it. I had the YouTube. Yeah. I had this YouTube. I had YouTube up, and you know how YouTube suggests things for you. It becomes part of my late at night when I'm just viewing stuff and my wife's not up and we've watched our normal shows. I'll put it on, and then this one came up, and I was like, oh, I didn't know there was a 1 hour show about
it was like a 1 hour.
Yeah, about Rekha's movie.
We tried to make the pitch about our movie the most entertaining thing you could possibly watch.
Yeah.
And that ended up becoming such a powerful tool for us. So first of all, we live streamed that on the day of our launch. So we had the show live, and we had a packed audience at the Dynasty Typewriter, which is this really cool theater in LA that is like one of the main hubs of like hip comedy in LA these days. We packed that house out. We then had live stream tickets so that if you couldn't make the show, it was available to everybody around the world to watch live as well. And our Kickstarter went live that day. So, in like during the show, it's almost like a telethon at that point. We're like, we've raised this much at this point. Like, can we get to this much while we're doing the show?
Which modernized is really cool. Jerry Lewis telethon.
Yeah, I think we raised something like 15 grand or something like that throughout the course of the actual show itself. But really, it was also then having that video as a tool for attention grabbing throughout the entire campaign. Because now that video, which was doing really well in the YouTube algorithm, like you were talking about, and we were also cutting that up into clips, posting that on TikTok, YouTube, and you know, Instagram and wherever else. And so that was just driving a bunch of awareness. In a way, it was what replaced Twitter for us from the DesiQuest, because Twitter is a different vibe now, to put it mildly. And so we knew we weren't going to get that same level of support. A lot of those creators that were supporting us the last time on Twitter left Twitter. That wasn't going to be what was going to do it. But yeah, we thought, hey, this is the most fun way that we could tell our like, this is what we're good. I've been out here for 20 years doing improv. Like, this is what we're best at. Let's do an improv show. And then we got, you know, this just incredible cast: Brendan Lee Mulligan, Izzy Rowland, Felicia Day from the Guild, and it's like Jordan Myrick, Sam Reich. I'm going to forget people. Dhruv Singh, who's going to be in the movie as well.
I could not stop laughing.
All of
at
these
that.
people
It was hilarious. So well
are
done.
just so like such masters of improv. And we were so lucky to have them together. It was great.
Yeah. So it's like around your fundraise, building a vehicle, using your community of super talented improvers to get the message out. Of course, you appeared early on. They came in. It was super clever, a super clever way of promoting, turning it into an event. And I think that's part of the momentum now. We have all these tools that we can get in front of people where we don't need approval from anyone. We can create it ourselves and literally get it all out. But then when we get it out, we have to make sure that everything's aligned with it. So it's like planned and unplanned and serendipitous, feeling all that coming together at once.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's right. You have to be super responsive too, right? You can't just there's a world in which that didn't really take off. There's other ways that we have to drive attention. And so it wasn't, we weren't like putting all our eggs in that basket per se. But it was, hey, let's just try these various things, see what is holding people's attention and because that's it. Like I was just watching this like Instagram video the other day from this creator that I love. And he did a thing on just like a tips on how to be a creator these days. And one of them was, you can't just create stuff, the creation of the art is 40% of it. The marketing of it is 60%. And so then, people are like, well, so what? I got to be an editor. I got to be a cinematographer. I got to do all these things. And he was like, no, you don't have to. You just have to get people's attention. And so whatever the hell way you want to do that, but that is part of the job of being an artist, is how do you get people's attention to your art? If that's what you want to sustain you and sustain the life for your family, then that has to be a part and parcel of the design of the art for you. So no, you don't have to necessarily be on Instagram or any of these things if that's not how, if you can get attention some other way that's more efficient for you, or more that speaks to you, then do that. But you must design some way to get attention when you are creating your art.
I think it's brilliant. And it's a really helpful way for aspiring creators to understand how to get this together. So in your case, it's a combination of community, people you take care of in a genuine way or take care of you over time. And it all comes together. Like if you look at, if you know Sandeep, you'll see many similar people who've been in various roles with him over time, right? From whether it's producing or above the line, below the line kind of work, right?
Yeah.
They're coming with you and they carry with you and they promote with you and all these connections work with you. And that's working together as part of taking advantage of the mediums that are out there.
Totally. I always say that, like, whenever people who are new, or at a panel, they always ask, like, what's the advice you give to somebody? I always say, like, listen, treat like the people that you collaborate with early on, the people that are in your level 101 improv class, the people that you meet as junior executives or assistants or people at the mailroom of CAA, that is your graduating class. All those guys, you guys are all freshmen together. And, you guys are going to rise the ranks together. And so if you create authentic relationships with the most talented people that you find that are in that, instead of like striving to like get a senior's attention, and be like, I'm going to date a junior my first day out. No. Like focus on the people that are around you in your class. Who are the most talented people there that you really jive with? Who are the people that you really connect with? Like, what are their hopes and dreams? How can you guys work together and create a cool class project together? And because those people are going to be the ones 5 years from now that are going to be the executives and that are going to be a series regular. And you can sort of graduate together if you really have those authentic relationships that you've created at the start.
In a way, as an aside, in a way, you're going against the grain of normal human thinking. A lot of time, I wouldn't say when I grew up, you'd find who was cool and who's not, who to pick on, who to be friends with. And it goes against that part of what I thought was human nature, whereas you create these gradations and you pick and choose amongst them. And what you're saying is, amongst that group, consider everyone to be interesting. Maybe you attach yourself more to certain folks that jive with you the most, but you don't need to necessarily put down others in this quest, because all those folks will be the one. You never know what will happen, and those folks will be the one that maybe out of nowhere connect you with all sorts of people.
Well, right, and then
want to be part of that tribe of yours.
or you'll just have a great time with them, and you will like, at the very least, even if you don't shoot to the moon, you will have an authentic relationship with people that you really love working with, which is like, in the end, kind of so much, it sort of becomes like the, like, enjoy the process instead of the result kind of a thing. Because I think whenever you're going like, hey, who's out there that's cool, what you're doing is you're like setting, like, there's like an extrinsic determinant for what is good, and then you are trying to measure them up to that, and then measure yourself up to that, versus like intrinsically feeling in your heart of hearts, like, who makes me laugh, who moves me when I see them, who am I always like riffing with at a party, and we just can't stop coming up with crazy fun ideas, or joking with, or who's reading my writing just because they care about me and want to see me succeed, and then gives me really great notes and really like cares about it. Like that, those are like, that's when you tap into like what's intrinsically going on with what your own measurement for cool, which should be, is like,
I'd say
who's impacting you.
I'd say don't underestimate your own gut feel for the kind of person that the person that could be your great partner or great collaborator with. Go with your own.
I would even go so far as to not just don't underestimate it, nurture that gut feel, connect with that gut feel, have conversations with that, meditate with that gut feel, really go deep within you, understand yourself. What are you trying to do out here? If you're coming out to LA and you just want to be the next XYZ, or you just want to make a bunch of money, like, I think you're going to have a lot harder of a road than if you go, man, I really have this story to tell. I really need to get this message out there. This thing that happened to me, this thing that's meaningful to me, out into the world. Like, if that is your motivation, then like, and by the way, I say this after 20 years of doing it the other way, truly. Like, I don't think I understood this for so long, really. So this is the advice that I'm like giving to myself, or
I think we give ourselves that advice every day. Yeah, I think it's you realize much later this is what really works, not necessarily what others' version of great is. It's your own version. Yeah. So hey, now let's go back a little bit. Did you were supposed to be a good Indian son? And when you went to Brown, you were supposed to work in computer science. That's what you got your degree in.
Yeah.
Right. That's why mom and dad were paying all that money for you to go to this amazing Ivy League school.
Indeed.
But then you went into the arts. What got you sparked on it?
Well, that's honestly their fault for not knowing. That's their fault for not knowing what Brown University was. Or all of you, or me even. None of us knew. I don't think really understood. We were just like, oh, it is Ivy League school. Yeah, it is. Of course, don't go there. Go to Ivy League school. Like, there was no. It was the only Ivy League I got into, and so it was just like obvious that I was going there. I didn't even visit the school beforehand. Like, I don't know how.
Wait, now hold on. Now that's not fair. Our parents talked me into going to the state school, so to get a scholarship. So
right, so funny. I was literally talking with Dad about this yesterday, and he still like has this deeply held belief that you should go to the cheapest undergrad and then go from the most expensive graduate school. Right, so yeah, you're right. He was like literally just talking about that yesterday. So hilarious. No, but my point is that, Brown, maybe unbeknownst to us, was this like is the most liberal of the liberal arts, right? So like they really encourage you to explore. I mean, they encourage. It's like it's so built on like intrinsic motivations. Like, what do you want to explore in our giant curriculum offering? You can take any class, pass, fail. You can drop out right before the final and get an incomplete instead of a failure. Like, they set it up so that it's like, we are not going to punish you for trying something out of your wheelhouse and recognizing whenever you do in that time that it's not for you. We're not going to we want you to try different things. That is built into the DNA of it. And so I got there, I fell in with this wrong crowd of these very bad improvisers and comedians and writers and artists. And, these are people that went on to be writers of the Colbert Report, writers on Fallon, these are like incredible people. I just it's actually it roots back to being your fault, Rajiv. I don't know if you recognize this, but
I'll take it.
I went to Harvard summer school one year, right? So listen, I was the good Indian boy, right? And why was I the good Indian boy? Because in 5th grade, I was getting B's. I got like 2 B's or something like that. And then you said to me, hey, if you get straight A's, you'll get baseball card. You'll get a set of baseball cards. Knowing that was all I wanted in the world was a set of baseball cards. And so then from that point on, I was Mr. like, I'm getting straight A's. I want baseball cards so badly. So I was very extrinsically motivated by baseball cards. Anyway, so
I only had to keep that incentive for a couple of years because once you got hooked,
yeah,
you never got to be
that's
again.
Right. Then I didn't get it, but still, like, that's for whatever reason you went the other way when I went to Harvard summer school, and you were like, hey, because I was like, I'm going to take chemistry and I'm going to take physics, and you're like, don't do that. Take something weird. Take creative writing, and I was like, really? Okay. And so I did. I took creative writing at Harvard summer school, my senior year or junior year or whatever that was, and then I was like, that sort of started the artist in me. It sort of like lit the flame, I think. And then by the time I got to Brown, it was like, yeah, no, of course I'll get like a practical, pragmatic degree. I'm not crazy, or I don't be disowned by my South Asian immigrant parents. But I am going to, try to join this improv troupe and see what that's about. And by the time it got to senior year, I really fell in love. I made my first film over the summer one year, and I really fell in love with, to me, how it lit up both sides of my brain. Like I felt like for the first time really in my sort of academic career, did I feel like the left side and right side of my brain lit on fire as I produced a film. I felt like my logic side was like problem solving, trying to figure out how we're going to get done in this budget and this timeline. And then my creative side was just obviously, was like, how are we going to tell this story? I just fell in love with filmmaking, and I told mom and dad that I want to move to LA and give it a go and put my CS degree to the side. And mom cried and
where are you going to make money?
Yeah. Okay, we support you. I still remember mom saying, okay, we support you. She cried
like that. She's awesome.
Yeah.
She will cheer you on. All right. So that was the origin of the spark where you never looked back, never went back and learned Python and Java.
I learned those things.
What are you talking about?
Definitely. Yeah, I learned Python and Java. Yeah. And so, I learned all that. In retrospect, like I almost wish I didn't, I wish I saw CS as a tool for art earlier on. And there are ways in which it has actually, like you mentioned earlier, the interactive stuff that I did. And I was writing scripts and pseudocoding as I was creating choose your own adventure live action story. So that was, in a way, it did make use of I did use my degree at some point.
Yeah. So and I'd say that in general, I think it's really useful to learn, like being to understand the mathematical side, structured logic, understand how to write code. After engineering, I went into technology sales instead of actually building technology products. And then later when I started companies, I always saw it as writing a set of procedures. You design your business as a set of almost code modules, and where everything works together.
That's cool.
Where these are components that need to flow together. And so you want to make it so that each organizational unit or functional unit can run on its own while interacting with the others. Mm-hmm. So you want that code to be extensible to a certain extent. So if you scale, you don't break the basic infrastructure of your basic program. Yeah. So listen, that makes total sense. You know what I find with my artistic pursuit, and I wonder if you feel the same way actually as an entrepreneur, is that it sort of uses all parts of the buffalo in the sense of I have, because of my pursuit of being a filmmaker, it has used every experience I've had growing up, and nothing is wasted. At some point, someone's, while I'm on set, people are like, oh, you were a gymnast? Can you do a backflip? Yeah, sure. Okay, great. Let's put that in the music video that we're shooting.
everything that I thought was like, why did I do that? In my life, why did I waste my time? No, it actually sort of came back into the art in some way, shape, or form. You sort of, you end up mining every little bit of your life experience so that you can, pursue your dream of becoming a filmmaker, or, tell this story in the most unique way, or the most from you point of view way that you can. I don't know if that's true of entrepreneurship.
I totally feel that way. I'm in growth marketing, digital marketing with a worldwide team serving primarily technology-centric clients, even the dental clients or even the more basic businesses are now technology-centered. And I find that in getting to those clients, all the sales skills I learned when I was at NCR back in the
National
day,
Cash Register,
where I went for a year of sales training. Like, they give you a year of graduate sales training. So the most important lessons I learned was not just I was in that class, and then this amazing guy that I should keep in touch with, Rich Lutz, who taught me about major account selling. And he taught me, one of the great lessons he taught me was, I was a salesperson. I was running all over the New England area, talking to all these big companies, GTE, GE, Pepsi, trying to sell these computing systems, right? PCs and servers right there. The old Pentium PCs, 486s, and multi-unit servers. And he sat down with me one day and he said, Rajiv, let me just teach you a little bit about sales. I've been at this for 20 plus years. So say you're successful at Pepsi and you sell a bunch of machines. You're sitting here in Hartford, Connecticut. You sell a bunch there, and then you sell a bunch here at ITT Hartford, which at the time was now the Hartford Insurance Company. What's going to happen to you next year? I don't know, Rich. I'll just make a bunch of money, hit my numbers. He's like, no, Rajiv, they're going to split your territory in half. And you're going to have to choose which one you want. So like you're sitting here with the 3 big insurance companies that are all IT driven, where you can work with me. I'll do the strategy. He's the senior guy getting the strategy. I'm this 20-year-old kid selling the hardware. And he's like, we can work together here where you can literally focus on these few places and nail it, or you can run around like a chicken with your head cut off all over the state, all over the region. What do you want to do? And it was like, wow, prioritize, pick a few things, go super deep in them, pick a community of folks. We ended up building an account team together that just went after these insurance companies, each one of us with different competencies, and we made it work. And so like those lessons are with me to this day.
Right.
Whenever I think of our folks, us running around all over, we could take on this client, that client, this client, that thing. It's like, no, let's focus on particular areas where we could be really awesome.
Right.
Because that you only have so much time and you only have so much energy to focus in a few places and really differentiate yourself. And even then it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. I guess you never know what life experience is going to rear its head back into your life later and what sticks with you. And everything that you think or something that you think was totally a waste of time ends up being this useful thing. It's using all parts of the buffalo, except that you're the buffalo.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think you need to be able to go back. Even if you think something's wasted, you never know when it'll pop up in your life. And you have to I think part of it is I dismissed many things that I did. And now as I get older, I'm more open to those things coming back and serving as lessons or good stories.
Yeah.
That inform where I'm going. Okay. We are, in terms of self-improvement, what area of your filmmaking craft are you trying to work on right now?
So I'm trying to study other independent film that's like roughly in our same budget level to really get a sense of what I find really appealing about them, like what they do really well, with their limited resources. How does this movie let's take 7 Days as an example of the movie that I was just talking about. It was a movie where two people, it's shot in one location the entire time. How do they make it not feel claustrophobic? At a certain point in the movie, you kind of lose yourself to the story. And what I noticed was, it's like, wow, they really shot the hell out of this apartment. I mean, every angle you could possibly imagine, and it never felt stale visually. And I thought that lent itself to making the movie feel like it had big scope, even though it was literally shot in an apartment. And part of that was actually, I watched that movie with my community. So I have this thing where I have a Patreon that if folks can sort of be with me on the journey of making this movie, if they contribute to our Patreon, and then they can watch these movies with me, and then we have a little discussion afterwards. And that's been so valuable to have these conversations with the people that have already, many of them have also kicked in for the Kickstarter, of course. And so they're just like it's like having constant audience feedback of throughout the process. And that's been just genuinely so inspiring and helpful, because you're not getting, notes and ideas from executives who have sort of the ulterior motive of keeping their job. You're getting it from the fans that really love and care about film and care about your project too. So they're really I'm telling you that the stuff that I hear from them is so valuable. It's more valuable than a Paramount exec who's been, or can be, just as
you
valuable.
You wouldn't sneeze at the Paramount exec that helps you with your next movie.
No, of course not. Of course,
your version of the Mahabharata that's coming out in a couple years.
And in fact, Anand would say this too, who worked at Paramount, which is why I keep picking on it. But he would say, we're all, in some ways, we've all done the 10,000 hours of watching content.
Yeah.
So we have our own sort of expertise around what matters to us, what moves us. We may not know the technicalities behind how everything's produced per se, but we know what is impactful to us. So I'm constantly surveying that with my community. And these, again, are the people that are going to be the loudest advocates for it and the deepest supporters. So yeah, I think it's that. I'm just trying to really stretch myself, really trying to understand my crutches and my go-tos, which tends to be goofy comedy at times, or sophomoric comedy, or whatever it is, and really try to get to something a little bit deeper emotionally. And so, just kind of just stretching myself a little bit and making myself a little uncomfortable, because I think that's where the next sort of iteration of artistry will come for me.
I like that.
In that discomfort.
I like that you're using, and I think you're doing this even as you are doing the movie, right? Vidya's Guide for the Afterlife. You've documented for everyone that's supported you or on your email list the process you've gone through, what you did to get there, how much the net is after you pay all the different expenses for fundraising. Right. They feel like they're on your journey, and then because you're transparent like that, they can feed back to you. And I feel similarly about the community I'm working with. I think in many ways you're more open than I am, and you just throw yourself out there. And I think your community lifts you up. And it's one of the things I need to do better, which is ask for help.
It's
right?
Very Brene Brown of me, just trying to be a vulnerable warrior, a leader through vulnerability.
Well, you know what we're going to do now? We're going to go to the game.
Okay, great. So are we still calling it the Spark Tank?
We're calling it the Spark Tank. Welcome to the Spark Tank. Right. Today, we're thrilled to have our very own co-host, Sandeep Parikh, joining us in the hot seat. Sandeep has not read the script. Sandeep, your mind is a fascinating landscape of creativity, from the cult phenomenon of the Guild to directing web series and even diving deep into the world of tabletop RPGs. With DesiQuest, you are constantly forging new paths. This is the ultimate word association challenge, where every response can unlock a new dimension of your creative process or reveal the colorful chaos when we open our brain of a professional improviser. This is where storytelling meets spontaneous thought, where digital innovation collides with the art of human connection, and where a single word will unlock a universe of unexpected ideas. So here's how it works. I start with a word, and Sandeep, you respond with the first word that comes to your mind.
Okay. I was like, okay, do I have to do a monologue or something? Okay, no, just a word. Okay, got it.
A lot of stuff. Then I'll respond, and we'll keep this.
Monologue. Got it. To get to word association.
Word association. Okay. And we'll go back and forth. So Sandeep, are you ready to see where your synapses take us?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh. All right. I'm going to empty my mind.
This is going to be.
There is no spoon. There is no
really
spoon.
Big, really huge.
Unique New York. Okay.
Is that something I should learn to speak better? Okay. Here we go. Play.
Improv.
Acting.
Emotion.
Authenticity.
Vulnerability.
Depth.
Richness.
Richness. Go there. Why did you say richness?
Richness? Why did I say richness? Well, I guess I was trying to dig deep, and I think that if you dig deep, it's where the juice, the juju is. It's where the good stuff is, right? So you go to the depths of your conscious brain or subconscious brain to dig for story ideas, and you'll find a rich, fertile ground of unique stuff.
That's where play is at its greatest, when it's unsupervised, unconstructed, just play. I think that's beautiful. Okay, next one.
Okay.
Character.
Actor.
Craft.
Macaroni and cheese.
Amy's.
Amy's? Oh. Organic.
Oh, hippie.
Mushrooms.
Colorful.
Oh, okay. Spectrum.
Wavy.
Surfing.
Aquamarine.
Jason Momoa.
What? All right, explain that one.
Jason Momoa. He played Aquaman.
I like that.
I don't know.
Did you really like Aquaman? That was, for me, that was an airplane movie.
It's exactly where I watched it, and I love Jason Momoa. And
I like the first one.
So I enjoyed it.
Second one,
it's cute. So that's the only one I've seen. I didn't see the rest of them, and it was great.
I think I'm on longer flights than you are, so that's why it is.
I did meet Jason Momoa at a convention.
You did,
and we had an incredible conversation. He's such a lovely guy, and he was so easy to talk to. We just riffed for forever. But he's so tall. And so when I was talking to him, I'm literally by the end of our conversation, I finally put my head down for the first time, and I had this massive crick in my neck from talking to him.
Okay. This triggers something for me. You've actually been on a show with Robin Williams.
I have.
Who is probably, to any improver or comedian, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest.
He's Mozart. Yeah, he's Mozart. How
was that experience?
I mean, it was transformative. I worked on The Crazy Ones, which was the final show, right before he passed. And, I worked on it for 4 days. I was the main villain character to his hero. So we were squared off head to head. It was really, really fun episode. I got a bunch of scenes with him, a bunch of scenes with Sarah Michelle Gellar. And it was just, he taught me so much in those 4 days. Was
he always riffing the whole time?
He was having authentic conversations the whole time. So there was a lot of times that we were standing there getting, rehearsing, and we'd rehearse our scene. And then, typically they'd say, okay, second team on. And so that just means after we do our blocking rehearsal, usually our kind of body doubles, second team, it's people that are sort of the same height and maybe usually same skin colorish, because you have to light for us, would step on. But Robin was was like, no, I'll stay. And I was like, oh, if Robin's going to stay, I'm going to stay.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. So me and Robin were just like start chatting about whatever it is. And he just was, he was so, again, he's just so authentic. And he just like he loved comics and he loved Zelda. So we talked about like The Legend of Neil, all these things. And so we had all these great conversations and he knew everybody's name on set. He was like thanking everybody by name, like catching up with them. And you just noticed this real, I don't know how he was earlier in his career, but it felt like to me that, whether he came to this or whether he was always this way, there was this such level of respect for everyone around him, for everything that they do. And this feeling where he just didn't take an ounce of it for granted. Like it felt like he was treasuring it the whole way. And he just was so cool. Like there was this one moment where me and a bunch of the other cast who were like day players, we're all sitting in the room, in like the break room, chatting and talking about like, hey, what were the movies that he was nominated for? And we were like trying to remember all the movies that he was nominated for an Oscar for. And as we're like, was it this? Was it that? We hear from the back, like, it was Bicentennial Man. And it was Robin Williams making fun of himself as if Bicentennial Man was the one. So he was listening to the conversation the whole time and he just like jumps in and it was just, he was such a delight of a human. And just, I think just never taking it for granted was something that I really learned from him.
That's amazing. I think our producer will let us do one more. So,
okay.
Gaming.
Last of Us. I don't know. That's Last of Us. It's a video game.
Last of Us. Oh.
That's a TV show on HBO.
See, I know so little about gaming. Multiplayer game. Is it a multiplayer game or it's just a game?
Yeah, I was going to say Mario Kart. It's okay. Mario Kart.
Tortoise.
Tortoise shell.
Flip.
Gymnastics.
Pommel horse.
Champion.
Nadia Comaneci.
Oh, perfect 10.
Simone Biles.
Struggles.
Okay. Comeback story.
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. What are your favorite comeback stories of all time?
I should have said Rudy. I was like, comeback. Yeah. I was like, Hoosiers a comeback story.
What are your?
If Simone Biles has got to be up there.
What are your? Simone Biles, right?
Simone Biles has got to be up there. Absolutely incredible. I mean, talk about Talk about someone who, man, led through vulnerability, right? Like.
Yeah, she let it out there. She let people know she was,
I mean, and the things that were said about her after admitting that she was having all these mental health issues and struggling with being in the limelight in that way, and then just come back and kick
winning
so
it
much
all.
ass and winning. So, I mean, like that is to me, what a triumph! What a way to demonstrate resilience on the largest stage imaginable. That's incredible. And so inspiring.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're gonna maybe even act like co-hosts again. We'll see. Tell me the second thing that you love, not the first thing. The second thing.
Say, I guess the first thing I would say is being a dad. And so then for the second thing that I love, it's performance. Specifically, man.
Do you love being on stage? Is that fun for you?
Sweet taste of the audience laughing at something you riffed up at the top of your head is the most like dopamine inducing feeling on the planet. Like you just feel you said something or you created something in the moment through improv or even like as you're in stand up or whatever. And then the audience, it rips through the audience. That feeling is unmatched. I love that feeling. It's incredible.
So you primarily were improv, more recently did
stand up.
I love sending your clips to people, especially your some of the ones like swastik. I think Indians love that. My American all friends love that. They think it's hilarious. Could you pick one over the other, or are they just two different kids?
Yeah, they're two different kids. They're just two different kids. I mean, I improv is my first love, so it's like I had to choose. I wouldn't give that up. But yeah, there's like improv is like more of the team sport, right? It's more like playing on like on a volleyball squad or a basketball squad or something like that. Like that's like when you feel like you're in community as you like build this incredible thing and people love it. Where stand up is a little bit more like probably like gymnastics or something. You're like up there solo. You're like, all right, I hope I land this flip perfectly and I've pointed my toes throughout, and I hope I don't fart. Oh God, here we go. I'm in a leotard, ready, yay! So it's very vulnerable, and those highs are very, very different than the team highs, But both wonderful things.
No, This was great. I know we cooked this one up because we just haven't had a chance to do an episode in a long time. And I think,
I've missed,
in many ways, I think people or those who listen, and I've gotten so much amazing feedback from people, right? And a lot of them were like, hey, where's that guy that sounds like you that basically, makes all that geeky stuff interesting and comes in from another angle and all that. And I was like, well, let's do this one together and get you back. So I'm really glad to have you here.
I hope all the budding entrepreneurs who want to really like dig deep into go-to-market got literally anything out of this episode.
Wait a minute. This is not all about go-to-market. This is about innovation.
Yes.
And innovation has go-to-market in it. And I think there were many, many lessons about how to build yourself up, build up a community, how when there's established mechanisms for getting something you want funded. And then there's unconventional ones, and the unconventional ones really make you have to go out there in a way that you're taking even more chances. Right. And I think that's what's remarkable.
And let me say this about those unconventional ways too, real quick before we bounce, is that at least in the way that we did it with crowdfunding, the major difference between that and getting funded by Comedy Central and my prior shows stuff is that I get to own it all. We get to own, the creators get to own it all. And I got to tell you, after doing a 10-year battle to get back The Legend of Neil from Comedy Central, just so I could put it on YouTube. That's all I wanted was for people to see it and not have it be buried and lost forever. You're not even using it. It's on the shelf. You don't even care about this project.
That website is dead. The website that they had is dead.
I was like, I will give you whatever you want. You can have all the revenue. I don't care. I just want people to see it. The website's gone. Like, please let me see it. Let's split the revenue, whatever. We don't have to do that for DesiQuest. We don't have to do that for Vidhya's Guide. We get to be the owners of our art. And that is, man, it may not be as, much money or whatever. I mean, in some ways it seems seemingly like it might be, but, it's, man, there's nothing like owning your art. That is, or owning what you build.
I think that really is meaningful. I think in a way it is, if I were to abstract it to the business world, it is nowadays how a lot of businesses are getting themselves funded. They're out there they're telling people about who they are and what they're up to.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily, they're stealth for a little while, but then they put out their technology and tell people about the journey, and people join in based on that. So actually a lot of the development today is letting the world know about it and letting the world decide upon it as you go.
Yeah, people who really care will be moved by your product or service that really need it. Like if those are the ones that are contributing to it, oh my God. I mean, you see all this stuff on Kickstarter, people funding their products and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, just to close the loop on the Legend of Neil story, it took me 10 years to get that back. You know who was the person that ended up signing the deal from the business affairs on Comedy Central? It was a guy that, because it was 10 years later, who was a kid watching The Legend of Neil. He loved it so much. He then was like, oh, I'm talking to the Legend of Neil guy. And he goes, I'll cut you a deal. That's the only reason why we got a deal.
Oh
it was a
God.
fan that got us a deal in the end.
Oh, what a great guy. That's awesome. That's a great way to close the loop.
Love your fans. Love your fans.
Show love to your fans. And you still keep emailing them. So that's still out there and they're still with you and they're still showing up at events. So that's a testament to building great content, great material, and a passionate community. So thanks, Sandeep, for joining us. So Sandeep usually says the show is...
Oh, I don't have it memorized, but yeah, the show is produced by Anand Shah. And me.
Yeah, there you go. Production assistance by...
Taryn Talley.
And edited by...
Who's editing it these days?
Sean Maher and Aiden.
Sean Maher and Aiden. Great.
I'm your host, Rajiv Parikh from Position Squared, an awesome AI growth marketing company based in Silicon Valley with all this agentic AI stuff combined with people. Come visit us at position2.com.
This has been an EffinFunny production.
And we'll catch you next time. And remember, folks, be ever curious.
Be ever curious. I almost said be the change you want. Be the change
you want to be. All right, cue the music.
Be the change you want to see.